We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Good tidings we bring to you and your kin. Good tidings for Christmas and a Happy New Year. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Hello, you good people, friends, lovers of Christmas, and thank you for joining us. This is 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir.
Merry Christmas!
Merry Christmas! And we're rocking around the Christmas tree on this fine December 22nd, 3 days from the big day,
What?
Santa's big day.
3 days?
3 days.
Oh, no.
If there's anything you haven't gotten done yet, you ain't getting it done. Just relax, take it easy. Or get those last minute things down. It's part of the fun, the hecticness. If it doesn't get you too riled up. Folks, we are glad you're here, especially if you're watching live. Want to see you in the chat? I've got my computers mixed around so I can see your chat better than usual tonight. The computer in front of me, not the one you'd usually see there. And it is adorned with dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs!
Christmas dinosaurs. If you've been following the show, you know this was the year of dinosaurs.
Yes.
For you, Amy.
Well, and many others. As a matter of fact, all the good boys and girls this year.
Well, all the people that your hard work made it possible to see the dinosaurs at Henry Ford Museum. Dinos in motion, but all of the dino fun that we've had.
Yes.
Dinosaurs on our front lawn.
Ooh, yes, we do.
Dinosaurs are helping Santa deliver presents this year. It is the year of the dinos, so my dinos are right here, front and center. They're a little dark there, but I think you can see them. No, you can't buy them like this. These dinosaurs are purchased and then custom outfitted by you, Amy.
And that is right.
They were not originally Christmas dinosaurs. Okay, special edition show, Sunday, December 22nd, the 357th, we're running out of days, 357th day of this, your best year yet.
Wow.
I say, we're there. I think we're done. It is the best year yet. But a couple more weeks left to make it so. 9 days until New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve? Did I say New Year's Eve? New Year's Eve.
New York's Eve.
New York's Eve. I need another sip of this Merry Christmas coffee. Well, Merry Christmas coffee. That sounds kind of boring. Amy, what are you drinking in your holiday mug there?
Well, I made myself a nice hot toddy. I'm actually using Colonial Boohee, which you can order from Oliver Pluff and Company. And this is basically the...
Colonial Bohea.
Boohee. Yes, that's how they say.
It smells like smoke and ash.
It does. It smells like sulfur, like, where Krampus came from. But no, but this actually is, so it has it's a black tea with a light, quote unquote, light smoky flavor. It's pretty smoky, actually. It was popular in colonial times, and it was important in larger quantities than any other. Or it was imported in larger quantities than any other teas combined, and it was the majority of tea destroyed during the tea tax protests in revolutionary America in the Boston Tea Party.
That's very patriotic.
Yeah, it's got the Joiner die, Ben Franklin little meme before there were memes.
Although I got to admit, the first time I smelled it, I thought, I think I'm going to throw that in the Delaware Bay.
Yeah, I guess it was the most favored kind of tea back then. It has a smoky flavor. But this, I went ahead and I put some orange and lemon in it with some cloves and a cinnamon stick, some honey, and some Bullet Bourbon.
Bullet Bourbon. So you have added the holiday cheer.
Yes.
Folks, I hope you are adding the holiday cheer at every occasion you can. Again, Christmas in 3 days. Halloween is in 313. I don't even know why I'm still writing that down, but okay. Oh, yes, got my chat going here. Let me just move things around a bit. Real quick, on this date, December 22nd, 1808, Ludwig van Beethoven's Symphony No. 5 in C minor received its world premiere. It's been over 4.5 years since this show received its world premiere, and there's a parallel to be drawn here. In what would soon become the world's most recognizable piece of classical music. Now, this is from the article that I was using to research some of this. I don't know. Folks out there, tell me in the chat, what do you think is the world's most recognizable piece of classical music? I know that kind of makes the list, but I wonder. It seems like, Bach would be on there first, Mozart, but maybe not. What do you think is the most recognizable piece of classical music? The initial reviews for Beethoven's Fifth Symphony were very dun-dun-dun-dun. The initial reviews failed to recognize it as one of the greatest pieces of music ever written. But you need to understand the adverse conditions under which the work was first heard. They didn't have in 1808, amplifiers and microphones or even modern instruments. So the concert venue was freezing cold. That would make sense, December 22nd. Let's see, freezing cold. It was more than 2 hours. Now this is crazy. It was premiered more than 2 hours into a mammoth 4-hour program. Like, maybe put it on earlier than that if everybody's freezing to death. And the orchestra played it poorly enough that day to force the nearly deaf composer, who was also acting as conductor and pianist, to stop the ensemble partway through one passage and start again from the very beginning.
Oh, goodness.
It was in all a very inauspicious beginning. But by 1810, so 2 years later, the critic E.T.A. Hoffmann praised Beethoven for having outstripped the great Haydn and Mozart with a piece that, quote, opens the realm of the colossal and immeasurable to us, evokes terror, fright, horror, and pain, and awakens that endless longing that is the essence of romanticism. Doesn't that sound like it describes our first episode of this show? Evokes terror, fright, horror, and pain. No, just kidding. But yes, this 1808, I just think of all the things we didn't have in 1808. See, last night we went to Greenfield Village to celebrate holiday nights.
Yes.
And it kind of reminds you, as they tell you, the history, the various places that you go and the things that happen. Yeah, this Christmas carol was written in 1880. And you think, oh my God, like 145 years ago, and they didn't have all of these things that we now have. It's crazy.
Well, I'll tell you, can I make a little segue?
Yes,
So
please.
I was listening to, on Audible, I was listening to the Hugh Grant version of A Christmas Carol.
Ooh.
And he was pretty good. He's not as saucy as Tim Curry.
Tim Curry's
And,
reading of A Christmas Carol really is great.
And but he's been understated, but it's nice. It's a very pleasant sounding voice, and he's older now, so it's he doesn't sound quite like Hugh Grant. But there's a couple paragraphs in here. So basically, Scrooge meets Ghost of Christmas Past, with
Okay.
his big green robe and his jovial disposition. And there's this little area that is so capitalistic. I absolutely love it. Basically, it's talking about how the sky was gloomy on a Christmas day, but people were, even though they were basically shoveling snow off of roofs, like, that's not a dangerous thing to do.
No, not at all.
But they were absolutely happy about it, absolutely cheerful. There's an air of cheerfulness abroad that the clearest summer air and brightest summer sun might have endeavored to diffuse in vain. I love it. And it says, for the people who were shoveling away on the housetops were jovial and full of glee, calling out to one another from the parapets, and now and then exchanging a facetious snowball. Better-natured missile far than any wordy jest, laughing heartily if it went right, and not less heartily if it went wrong. The poulterers' shops were still half open, and the fruiterers were radiant in their glory. They were great round pot-bellied baskets of chestnuts, shaped like waistcoats of jolly old gentlemen, lolling at the doors and tumbling out into the street in apoplectic opulence. There were ruddy brown-faced, broad-girthed Spanish onions shining in the fatness of their growth like Spanish friars, and winking from their shelves in wanton slyness at the girls as they went by, and glanced demurely at the hung-up mistletoe. There were pears and apples clustered high in blooming pyramids. There were bunches of grapes made in the shopkeeper's benevolence to dangle from conspicuous hooks, that people's mouths might water gratis as they passed. There were piles of filberts, mossy and brown, recalling in their fragrance ancient walks among the woods and pleasant shufflings ankle-deep through the withered leaves. And it goes on. And I just absolutely love it. It's just this really, really amazing, benevolent and jovial description of a market. And even though Charles Dickens was a professed socialist, I guess, I'm not entirely sure how he defined that at the time, he certainly had great affection for these marketplaces.
For trade, absolutely. Well, actually, we will connect that beautifully to the theme that I want to be today's takeaway. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Good.
Because there was a list of books that came up in conversation. That book, A Christmas Carol, belongs in that list, and I forgot to include it. So we'll get to that in uno momento. We do have some answers in the chat to the question of, is Beethoven's Fifth Symphony really the most popular, or how did they say it? The most recognizable piece of classical music? And Chris McGraw, who knows more about music than you'll ever forget. Oh no, wait, that's Dr. I forget his name, the organist last night. But no, Chris, who knows all about music, says, well, unless you consider Star Wars to be classical music. It's amazing that some of the best classical music made nowadays is made for movies. It sounds like, I'm being oversimplistic. Oh, you don't really appreciate good classical. No, great classical music is being done as music scores and stands alone. It is really, really cool. Yes. He. It's funny too because he says, "No, I think Beethoven's Fifth is it." At first, that was his answer. There are some great answers in here, though. Jennifer Lionberger mentions the Nutcracker.
I love that.
It's another piece that, like movie music, it's all too easy to give it short shrift and say, well, it's a programmatic piece, a piece that goes along with telling a story, as opposed to pure music. Programmatic music is, no, it's not lesser. The Nutcracker is amazingly inventive.
Yes, it is.
Sometimes you'll go to see a ballet and they'll use an abbreviated orchestra, a small orchestra. Sometimes they'll use recorded music. But if you get a chance to see the Nutcracker without even the ballet, you realize how great that Tchaikovsky music is.
Yeah, and look up the, it looks like a piano. It's called a celesta. It's basically a piano-like percussion instrument that basically sounds like bells, like tinging bells that they use in that piece. So
oh yeah, the celeste is a beautiful thing. It's like a vibraphone, like a xylophone, inside of a piano.
Yeah,
with a smaller piano keyboard and mallets, and it's a beautiful thing. It's how the dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy and the Nutcracker.
Yes.
His voice.
By the way, that was Dave Wagner.
Dave Wagner, thank you.
That we heard last night.
Yes.
That was amazing.
Some of you in the chat, Paul, for example, will appreciate Dave Wagner being at the organ in the Menlo Park Laboratory at Greenfield Village in Dearborn, Michigan.
This was last night. We had the special honor and privilege of listening to Dave Wagner actually playing this. I forget what year it was, but it was a reproduction that Thomas Edison and Henry Ford found in rebuilding Menlo Park in Greenfield Village that they placed in there and hadn't been played for decades and decades. Right. And when Dave Wagner, who is a brilliant, basically classical music station host and knows everything about classical music and when he was a young boy, he actually came to Menlo Park. He saw the organ which wasn't functional at the time, and he vowed that someday he would play it.
And so decades later,
about 6 years ago, we restored it.
They restored the organ, and guess who was the first person to play it after it was restored?
Dave Wagner,
Dr. Dave Wagner.
And by the way, this is something that Thomas Edison himself played when he and his research and development, employees would sit around and they would have a little relaxing time in between great inventions.
Yes.
So it was fantastic.
So a bit more fun on the music real quick here. Stephen Katz mentions the Ninth Symphony with the Ode to Joy. Don't know if it's more recognizable, but you could argue that it's a greater work than the Fifth Symphony. Absolutely. Christopher Smith says Eine Kleine. So that would be a little night music. Eine Kleine Nachtmusik. And Naturally, of course, Jason Adams and a few others mentioned the Taco Bell canon. The Taco Bell canon. Love that. We played the Taco Bell canon at our wedding, didn't we? One of the pieces of incidental music.
Yes, I played the saxophone and you played acoustic.
Yes, Taco Bell's canon. I think we played that at other people's weddings too. Yes, Whiskers on Kittens. Yes, there's songs that are certainly belong in that list. There's more in here. But let me get back on track real quick, and we will return to the theme. Yes.
Oh, real quick, before I forget, I was going to mention with Tchaikovsky, and just listening to if you like Nutcracker Ballet as music, look up The Snow Maiden, which is another sort of ballet kind of production that he did, but it was lesser known, but it's called The Snow Maiden by Tchaikovsky, and anyways, perfect for this time of year.
Yes. That's the only one. That's the only on this date I'm going to use, but we do have a couple birthdays real quick that will also tie in. It is the birth date of Héctor Elizondo. Héctor Elizondo is 88 years old today, still with us. And great roles from Héctor Elizondo. He had a great career. He was a type. He was a certain, I wouldn't call him typecast or a character actor, but he did have a certain type. I loved his role in the film Pretty Woman, which made my list of 10 films that had an impact on you, which we'll get into. So happy birthday, Héctor Elizondo. Speaking of actors, happy birthday to Rolf Fines. Yes, I had to write it down that way because Rolf Fines, as some people in America say, no, Rolf Fines is 62 years old today. It's kind of sad that I immediately think, oh, Voldemort. Well, that's not the most flattering role that he ever played, even though he did a brilliant job at it. He was wearing tons of makeup and all that. No, he was in The Kingsman. I mean, The Kingsman was so much fun. He was in, this would maybe his greatest role. Are you ready? Jennifer Lopez in Made in Manhattan. Come on, that was cute. So, happy 62nd birthday. Made in Manhattan was made a long time ago. You're like, he was that old and he did a romance film with Jennifer Lopez? No, he was young at the time. It was cool. Light films are often the best films, trust me. We'll talk about that. And finally, one more, the birth date of, and they're no longer with us, but I never knew that Maurice and Robin Gibb of the Bee Gees were actually twins. They were fraternal twins, both born on this date, December 22nd, 1949. And I will always take advantage of any opportunity to celebrate the Bee Gees. And that's it. That's all I'm going to do about this date, because it's Christmas, and I want to talk more about Christmas. I got a theme that goes with Christmas. And we're not going to go for an hour and a half this time, are we?
Yeah, we are.
Well, we'll see how that goes. A lot of it depends on the chat.
Yes, depends on the chat, of course.
I mean, I could do all night on the music. Greg Lewis mentions Moonlight Sonata, obviously, right? But then if we're going to do that, we could do for Elise, these kind of beginner piano pieces that even people like me learn how to play. Even though I am not a pianist, I do own 2 pianos, so I like Taco Bell Sue Me, says Christopher. Well, nobody's going to give you a hard time for liking Taco Bell. We have a Taco Bell not far from our home that was just remodeled. It's brand new. It's beautiful. We probably still won't eat there, but it looks really nice.
Well, we haven't eaten Taco Bell in many, many years, but we might try it again.
I have nothing against Taco Bell. We eat, I don't know, every couple of years we have White Castles and, just fun stuff like that. We talked about that. Guilty pleasures aren't really guilty if they really are pleasures. They're just ones you kind of have to budget.
Yes.
You can't have White Castles more than once or twice every few years.
Yes.
You get the idea. All hail to, all hail. Oh, yeah, Stephen Katz says Pretty Woman actor. Yeah, Héctor Elizondo, Pretty Woman. Tom mentioned that, too. I did a write-up on that, and I recently posted on the socials on Facebook my list of 10 films that had an impact on me, a meme that originally went down in 2020, and I explained some of the reasons why Pretty Woman is actually a great movie. And the movie is not primarily about Julia Roberts' character. It's primarily about Richard Gere's character. It is a redemption story and a beautiful thing. So yes, thank you for that. Try the chicken burrito. Well, thank you for that. Again, we don't do, well, we'll get over there one of these days. We tried. We really did try to go to our neighborhood Taco Bell one night.
We did, actually. This is about a year ago. And it was too late. And it was past 9 o'clock or something. And this was sort of like the pandemic was still affecting staffing. And we couldn't order because they said, oh, you have to order from the app. We can't take your order from actually just you telling us what you want. I'm like, are you kidding me?
You've got to be kidding. You can't be serious.
So we didn't get anything.
We're in the drive-thru, and they're like, you'll need to place the order on the app.
On the
What? I have nothing against using apps to place orders, but if you can't just go to a place and say, put a taco in my face, I don't want to be there, okay? That's just silly.
You know, and I used to like the bean burritos that they had there, and I don't know, I stopped eating that, but
we'll go back someday.
But yeah, and Jennifer says sadly they discontinued the apple empanada. They don't have that anymore. But just to cheer you up, Jennifer, I am wearing the beautiful earrings that you got me for Christmas. Thank you. This is, you can't see it, but they are, they look, well, what they are very, very tiny books. It's actually the Romantic Manifesto by Ayn Rand. And I'm just so happy.
You recognize it.
I'm so very happy. Thank you again, Jennifer.
One of these days, we're going to get a second camera set up where we can zoom in and do things like that. Or we'll have a cameraman.
Or we could just take a picture beforehand of my earrings so that we can just display it.
Do. That's true.
That's
a good point.
Yeah, Romantic Manifesto that's what really sold me on Ayn Rand. And, other things too. But that's what really gave me the value orientation that I have today. And I'm very grateful. So, hooray.
Yes. Now, Stephen Katz is stirring it up in the chat. Fortunately, some folks like Tom are saying, I loved Pretty Woman. But Stephen, where is it at in the chat here, says, I still don't understand, he's talking to me now, I still don't understand why you love Pretty Woman, but you don't like the film Other People's Money.
Oh.
He says, I love OPM. I bought that movie on Amazon Prime. I think we might have bought it too. We watched it.
Yeah.
It's not my style. The romance in that story is kind of embarrassing, actually. The main character acts like kind of a dope with regard to the female character.
Well, I gotta tell you this in all honesty. I don't really like Pretty
Danny
Woman.
DeVito? Oh, Pretty Woman. Yeah, you're not the same fan of that I am. No, this is wholly a
So
Robert thing.
it's okay. It's okay if you don't like Pretty Woman. And
Did you like Other People's Money?
It was a little. I just felt that the love interests were didn't have the kind of chemistry that I was looking for. So
Yeah, it didn't make any sense at all.
I don't know. It's okay.
It's a sense of life thing. To some people, I'm sure that film resonates deeply. I know Yaron Brook is a big fan because he likes the way that it portrays capitalism in that film.
Yeah, businessmen. Yep.
Certainly not a judgment. And, if I haven't already, I'll put a post or an essay out there about that because I have talked about the film before, and I love it. I love that it is a personal redemption. Not redemption, that's not really the right word. I like films where people rediscover the best things about themselves.
Yeah.
People who've sort of lost themselves or lost their way over the years and find it again. It's why films that are otherwise horrible movies, like Drop Dead Fred, are personal favorites of mine because it precisely has that element. Because I see it in real life over and over again. People lose that spark, that youth, that wonderful something about them, and then they grow up and they think they have to lose it. Or they just kind of lost themselves along the way, and then they rediscover not just their values, they rediscover themselves. And I think more of us need that. I think we need more and more of that in real life.
Yeah, that was definitely the lesson in Serendipity.
Yes.
With John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale. And it's such a good movie. But I was going to say I should rewatch Pretty Woman just to see kind of like in the, I don't know, just kind of pay more attention to Richard Gere perhaps a little bit. I'm not a big Julia Roberts fan, I have to admit. But yeah. So,
well, the last line in the film Pretty Woman, not the street guy who goes on talking at the end, but the last line in the script in Pretty Woman, one of my favorite lines in all of cinema, gets me choked up every time. Every time.
What is that?
I'm not going to say it. I get all choked up and teary-eyed. And besides, it's a bit of a spoiler.
Oh, I was going to say also a movie that I recently rewatched just by myself because sometimes I do that, is Love Actually, which parts of it are, when Robert and I first watched it, we're like, oh, this is terrible. Oh,
What? It's torture. It's either, and there's several different storylines. Some of the storylines are torture. Some of the storylines are cringe. One or two are kind of cute, but awkward.
yeah, and I rewatched it just with fresh eyes, and I enjoyed it more the second time.
You enjoyed it more.
I
probably need to watch it again. I think I've seen it twice, but maybe a third time would do it.
Yeah, I don't know. It was the idea of it. Actually, I have to credit my good friend Lily, because I asked her what's her favorite Christmas movie, and she said Love Actually, and I'm like, that's interesting.
Better give that another shot.
And so I kind of put on my Lily lens, and I watched it through kind of her lens, and I'm like, I think I understand why she loves it so much, because the idea of it, even though the concretes don't really match the theme, I don't think, is that what Christmas time is about is just there's so much love between people, so many values between people going out and getting what they want and fulfilling their dreams, and of course some of it's really cornball and cringy, but and some of it's just downright awful. but if you look at the best parts of the movie, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's not as good as, say, Serendipity, for instance, but yeah, I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah. So somebody I haven't seen in the chat in a while says, "Oh, come on, Robert, say it." This is, of course, the world famous Apollo Zeus wants to see me get all choked up. I'll give you the short version. Our second lead says, she rescues him right back.
I do remember that part.
No, I'm not going to explain it. You have to see the movie.
Yes.
It gets me every time.
That's true.
So under Shameless Self-Promotion, which you'll see in the YouTube and Facebook descriptions for this episode, first entry is 10 movies over 10 days that had an impact on me. And yes, Pretty Woman is on the list. Serendipity, which we watched during Great Lakes Objectivists movie night, Glow movie night this week with friends, is on that list.
Yes.
And it was funny because I got mixed reactions to the list. Some people love it. Some people questioned some aspects of it. And that's good. That's a beautiful thing. See? Jennifer Lionberger's got the tears going too. See? Kindred spirits. Boom. Love it. And, some people, again, they make the mistake of thinking the film's about Julia Roberts' character. And it is. That's relevant. But no, she's not the star of that film. Steven says, have you seen Honora yet? No, and I probably won't. It's probably going to be a little too torturous for me.
Honora.
Yeah, it's a current film.
Oh, I don't know. I've never heard of this before, so
yeah.
I'll have to look
not.
at the wiki article.
Eyes Wide Shut. Christopher Smith says, hey, y'all told us last week, was it you in the chat or somebody else said, Eyes Wide Shut, one of my favorite Christmas movies. Now, I haven't seen it, so I don't know how much of it takes place over the holidays or if that was just, intended to be humorous. But it gets mentioned enough, and, Kubrick he's not my favorite director because he's not my style. But there's no question that he is one of the great film directors and producers. He crafts his movies like the greats do. So maybe one of these days I'll go see Eyes Wide Shut just because I'm sure it's a great movie, even though it's probably not my style. And I see enough of Nicole Kidman every time that I go into an AMC theater. Those of you who have AMC theaters where you go to see movies, you know what I'm talking about. Apparently she now owns part of AMC because before every film, there's this 1.5-2 minute spiel by her.
It's it's 120 seconds, way too long.
Sitting in a movie theater telling us how great it is to go to the movies, what a special thing it is. And of course, it's Nicole Kidman, so she goes into the movie theater. She's the only one in the theater because I'm sure she bought the theater out in order to go see a movie there, right?
Just by herself.
Although these days the theaters are often empty. It's really weird to see movies in movie theaters nowadays. We went to see Stop Making Sense when it started touring the theaters again, and the theater's full. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, it's wonderful.
But then the last film that we went to see, what did we go to see? It's funny now, I can't even remember what it was. It was just a couple weeks ago.
It was Red One.
Red One. Oh, we saw Red One, which was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
And we were the only ones in the movie theater.
Yes.
And it was an evening. It wasn't like a matinee where nobody shows up. No, it was an evening showing. And yeah, we got perfect seats right in the center, a few rows back, and it was fun.
It was fun. It wasn't like the best movie ever.
It was not a great movie, but it was a good movie. It was a great popcorn movie.
Yes, it was a great popcorn movie.
Dwayne Johnson was his usual charming self.
Dwayne Johnson is always great.
Can't go wrong. J.K. Simmons was buff.
Yeah.
Buff Santa.
Yeah.
Too
buff
cool.
Santa. And
Krampus shows up.
Yeah, Krampus actually, I won't say too much about it because at first I thought they were going to treat that mythology badly.
Because most people do.
But they actually did a good job of it. Yeah. And I was very pleased.
3 elements right there. Dwayne Johnson, J.K. Simmons being buff, and Krampus. If that's not enough reason to get some popcorn and see that film, I don't know what more you're looking for.
Yeah, in that genre, though, I also do recommend Violent Night, which...
Violent Night.
Yeah, I don't know if
which is much more violent.
So much violence.
Much more violent than Red One. Red One was an action film, but it was not a violent film.
Right.
Any more than most action films. Incidentally, Equal to Reality says, I am planning to go see Sonic 3. I've always wondered what Jim Carrey was up to, and then I keep forgetting he was in the Sonic films. I have not seen any of them yet, but I kind of have a grudge against Sonic 3 because it beat the pants off of Mufasa in the movie theaters. And I'm not a big fan of live-action animation, so I probably won't see Mufasa for a bit. I'll see it eventually because the producer of that film is actually my niece, my sister's daughter.
Yep.
Academy Award winner, and that's kind of cool now. I know somebody in the family who I can say, yeah, I'm related to an Academy Award-winning producer.
So drop this name.
Drop his name. Adela Romansky has has produced Mufasa with Disney.
Oh, so 2 more films that we need to watch. Number 1 is Scrooged. We need to watch maybe tonight, which we haven't seen in a while, and I'd like to see that again. And then also, it's not a Christmas movie, but Only Angels Have Wings.
Only Angels Have Wings is a must-see.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, John, if you're watching the show tonight, you mentioned you need to see that soon. You're right. You do need to see that soon.
You've got to see it. I'm telling you. And then you see it again.
Tom is saying in response to something, it had Harry Nilsson songs.
What had
was
Harry
that
Nilsson?
Sonic 3? Or let's see, I am imagining things, but it seems like when I was a kid in the early 70s, there was a cartoon named The Point. Oh, okay, The Point.
Oh, yeah. We're
absolutely
very
Harry Nilsson
familiar.
songs. One of my favorite albums. A friend of ours actually mailed me a CD of that album, and I actually like the album more than the movie.
Wait, when was that?
Oh, this is a few years back. Yeah. Cynthia sent us a copy of The Point, along with some things to do with it. It was very charming. It's a great package.
Okay.
And yeah. So you're absolutely right. There was a short film, like a TV animated cartoon of the Point.
Right.
I like the album because if you buy the album, or you can listen to it online, Harry Nilsson narrates it.
Yes.
Originally in the movie, Ringo Starr narrated it, and then it was redone without Ringo Starr's voice for licensing and cost reasons. It was done by Alan Thicke, and then it was a third time, I forget who the other narrator. It's the best narrator of The Point is Harry Nilsson himself. And
I'll tell you, one of my very favorite memories of long times ago is when so Robert has a daughter, and I have a daughter. She's my stepdaughter. She's in her 30s now, but when she was a little girl, we would go on long car rides, to Robert's mother's house and grandma's house, and Robert would put on The Point with Harry Nilsson.
It is a great album to play if you have a 45 minute car ride.
Oh, it's so good.
It's super sweet, super charming, and the tunes are just stuck in your head in a beautiful way.
In a beautiful way. And
Yeah.
Harry Nilsson's voice, my gosh, what a talent. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Christopher Smith mentions Die Hard, did kick ass, and used Beethoven's Ninth. That's true. You've got the Ode to Joy. The climax of the fourth movement there is when they get their hands on the bail bonds. No more spoilers there. Do you guys like Burl Ives' Christmas music? Yes. Not top favorites, but always charming, always beautifully delivered.
My favorite Christmas singer?
Favorite Christmas singer?
Yes, Ella Fitzgerald.
Of course.
Ella Fitzgerald.
Well, you can't go wrong there. Cannot go wrong there. So
she's my
where I
Ella.
left off was 10 movies over 10 days that had an impact on me. Look at that list. You mentioned Lily, your friend Amy. Lily asked, after I posted the one on Serendipity, which we watched this week, where are the other 10 or the other 9? And so I went ahead and researched the links. They're all in the latest post. You can read what I have to say about those films and then go see them. Or better yet, don't read too much. Avoid those spoilers and go see those 10 films yourself before you read up on them. But either way, it's Christmas. It's Christmas week. In fact, all of the other links under Shameless Self-Promotion are Christmas episodes that we have done.
Yes.
Or a couple that I've done alone, solo, ARC UK, Ayn Rand Center UK channel, and even an episode with James Valiant. And it was an episode on, was Santa Claus, or is Santa Claus, an altruist? And we were working from Leonard Peikoff's book, his episodes from his podcast. And the conclusion was, no, he's not an altruist.
No.
Because he rewards virtue. He rewards
Yes.
the good kids. He gives a list of the nice and the naughty kids.
Yeah.
Now, I like the older legends where Santa Claus didn't punish the bad kids. Well, maybe coal in their stocking instead of a gift. But no, the real punishment came from Krampus. Santa Claus was uniquely benevolent because he understood that kids may often do bad and they need to be taught a lesson. But kids aren't evil. Kids are innocent. To have a really evil child, well, you really can't have an evil child. They haven't reached the age of reason. So even if they're, unfortunately, psychologically in a way where they do evil things, Santa Claus understands. You give him a lump of coal, which I guess is punishment because it's a big disappointment. But no, you don't punish kids in that sense.
No.
You just encourage the virtue to come out.
I'll say this. I mean, I actually have a dear friend. I posted about Krampus back on Krampusnacht, December 5th. And she was a bit horrified at the idea of taking her little girl to go see a Krampus parade, as they do in Austria and Germany. And yeah, I totally agree. I don't think young children should be going to a Krampus parade to have them completely scared. Using fear as a motivator for no wrongdoing is not really, it's not good. It's not going to help in the long run. It's not good. But for adults, go to the there's more and more places where you can get your picture taken with Krampus as an adult.
Yes.
Maybe have a alcoholic drink or something like that, and have a good Christmas cheer and just play along with it because it's fun and it's cute. And I really like the idea of completely turning on its head the idea of like a devil or a demon or Satan or whatever it may be, or Krampus, as completely unrelated to religion, just as a character. And of course, I love the idea of completely throwing away the Christian ideas of heaven and hell, of course, for a lot of reasons. But yeah, it should be playful, and in that case, it should be for adults with Krampus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so Linda Cordair.
Yes.
Quent Cordair Fine Art.
Yes.
Cordair.com says in the chat, Quent Cordair's secular Silent Night is beautiful. And I feel certain that I've read that before, but I did a quick search for it, and it turns out, first of all, I love that the first thing you get in Google is Google AI. Yes, Google's artificial intelligence engine gives you an answer. It says, a secular Silent Night by Quent Cordair refers to a reinterpretation of the traditional Christmas carol Silent Night that removes religious references, focusing instead on themes of peace, unity, and the wonder of new life, making it suitable for people of all faiths or no faith at all. Well, that's pretty good for an AI answer. But then the first result you will get when you search for Quent Cordair, Secular Silent Night, is In Earthly Peace, as beautifully performed by Tori Anna, with lyrics by Quent Cordair. Oh my gosh.
I didn't realize that was made into a song.
We could stop the show right now and listen to that, but we won't. We will listen to it after the fact. You should do it too. Absolutely. Real quick, from Jim here in the chat, he says, having seen all of Kubrick's feature-length films, I have to say that Eyes Wide Shut is not one of his best, but I'd say that it is in a strange way a Christmas movie. And he goes on to mention Spartacus and Paths of Glory. Take a look at that in the chat. I have seen Spartacus. I have not seen Paths of Glory. In fact, I haven't seen Spartacus in decades, so I'm sure we're due to give that a rewatch, another look.
Yeah, there is actually the more current Spartacus with Russell Crowe. Yes, and then the second Spartacus, I guess, with him just came out. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we'll see.
And earlier Gary said, from what I've seen, the J.K. Simmons Santa seems to embody the benevolence of Santa. Yeah, right on. On the mark there. And thanks again for the recommendation of Jim Carrey. I guess I'll have to see the Sonic films. Don't think I ever played the games. Sonic the Hedgehog. My daughter would know more about that than I would. And that's it for my playlists. The Christmas playlist, music playlist, is still on youtube.com/Robert Nasir. If you're looking for more Christmas music, songs we've recommended in the past, just fire up that playlist and let it rip. Let it go.
Yeah. And Jason on YouTube mentions good Christmas karaoke songs, including Christmas at Ground Zero. I do believe that was Weird Al, I think.
No, that was... now I can't remember. No, I thought that was more of a punk rock song.
Well, let me just... Yeah, it's Weird Al.
It is Weird Al. Yeah. Okay.
I know
I'm
my...
thinking of, you know your Weird Al.
I know my
You know Weird Al far better than I do.
I love Weird Al.
Obviously.
Fairy Tale of New York. That's the Pogues. That's the duet. And, it was a fun song. Very crass, but in a charming way. Polish Christmas, I don't know that one. And Smashing Pumpkins, Christmas Time, I don't know that one yet either. But yeah, a lot of fun stuff. There's the a nice, actually very heartfelt and energetic punk rock song by the Vandals.
The Vandals.
And with a song called "Oi to the World."
Oh,
Oi to the world.
Oi.
Nice band, nice British band, punk ska kind of band. Yes. Yeah. Oh, Jennifer, by the way, Weird Al, yes, is coming in July, but I've already checked the dates. It's very sad, but we're going to be in Boston at Ocon at that same time, so we're going to miss him. And I'm just trying not to cry. So anyway, all right. Yeah, maybe we can catch him in some other city or something like that. I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to figure that out. Yeah, we've got a great group of people in the chat on YouTube and Facebook. Fantastic. Here, why don't we go ahead and I've got some. Oh, and by the way, Linda Cordair was on. I don't know if you've mentioned it, but go to cordair.com to their very, very lovely Quent Cordair fine art site gallery, and look at all of that. There's all sorts of ways that you can purchase art. You can save up for art. You can, you can put something really beautiful in your home and take a look at it every day and remind yourself of the kind of life you can lead.
And if you're determined to give art and you think, well, it's December 22nd, it's too late for that, reach out to Linda for gift certificates. Absolutely.
Oh, and calendars. They're selling calendars, as a matter of fact.
It's never too late. Well, I don't know you'll get the calendars in time, but that's okay too.
You'll still need them for next year. So, I also want to, Jim mentions Eric Rockwell, who I believe is an Objectivist or Ayn Rand fan. He's done the Annoying Drummer Boy song.
Oh, well, that would be a treat. Since you're mentioning Christmas songs, Amy, this won't be a favorite of yours, but it's
Okay.
one that I just learned about. 12 Days of Christmas by Reliant K.
I think I've heard of it.
It's if you're one of those people who hates the pop punk trend of the 90s and 2000s, you might not like it.
Okay.
But it's not just in pop punk style, it's actually very creative,
All right.
extremely well produced. So look up 12 Days of Christmas by Reliant, it's with two E's, Reliant, Reliant K.
Well, speaking of covers and especially parodies with Weird Al, you've got a ton of albums by Bob Rivers, who's since retired.
I am Santa Claus.
Ho ho ho! And instead of "I am Iron Man," they did an "I am Santa Claus" song.
Yeah.
But there's all sorts of he did all sorts of funny parodies of songs from, I don't know, 10 years ago and prior to that, all the way to the 80s.
Yes.
And it's great fun. If you're sick of listening to regular Christmas music, like sometimes I am, I put on Bob Rivers and I'm like, yeah, this is funny.
Yeah, and if you like parodies and you don't mind beloved Christmas carols being sung as walking around in women's underwear kind of parodies, if you're okay with
Lacy things.
Yes.
Da, da, da. All right. I also need to give a shout out to, I've been doing something very mindless, but also very beautiful.
Mindless.
And beautiful.
Mindless and beautiful.
I wouldn't call it
Sounds
mindless.
like random acts of kindness and senseless acts of beauty.
No. What this is basically putting images together with sticker by numbers. And there's a really lovely, it's Brain Games sticker by number vintage Christmas. I think I've talked about the Halloween versions of these in the past show, but this is a really lovely one, vintage Christmas, and you can basically put these stickers together to form an image, and it's really lovely. And I've done a few of them so far, and I just love them. And you get to basically find the numbers, with the sticker, and then go ahead and just put that together on the page.
It's like a cross between a jigsaw puzzle and a paint by numbers book.
That's absolutely right, but it's really lovely. And
That's good, because I tried looking up adult coloring books,
ugh.
and it was not what I was expecting at all.
Very funny. No. Adult coloring books are just they're just like, fill in this mandala with the coloring with some pencils, and it's so, I don't know, I find that so boring. But this one actually keeps my attention going, and
Seamus
I
gave
love
me
it.
it, but I'm just so.
Oh.
Thank you for that.
Oh, one more thing is we also have the sticker by number, A Charlie Brown Christmas.
A
Which,
Charlie Brown Christmas.
if you think that the vintage Christmases might be too hard for you, you can always do the Charlie Brown Christmas.
Yes. And you talked about Charlie Brown Christmas this year.
Yes.
If you didn't hear Amy talk about A Charlie Brown Christmas, you must have missed an episode or two. After this one, you have to go back and listen to every episode. You will listen to every word I have to say, because I have the microphone. Oh, no, that's the wedding singer.
Okay, can I keep up with my shameless promotion? This is my very favorite Christmas book. It's the World Encyclopedia of Christmas by Jerry Bowler, Bowler. And it basically gives you all these entries of, how they celebrate Christmas in Brazil, or particular, what is the Epiphany? What is the I don't know, how do they celebrate in Japan? I don't know, just certain like songs. There's songs in here, there's movies in here. It's really great. It's a little bit out of date, but you can find this usually used, but it's a wonderful book.
Yes. Steven says, is this the most people you've ever had in the live chat? It could be.
Maybe.
Could be. I'm seeing great names are coming up. People that I've been on podcasts with, or just people I admire. Jonathan Honig, for example, or as Yaron would say, Jonathan Honing. Jonathan, are we ever going to get Yaron to say your name right? So Jonathan Honig is in the chat. That's great to see as well. And lots of names. The barrister, Matthew Humphreys, is in the chat. So
Yes.
great stuff. And he's
Saw
giving
him
us
before.
suggestions. For example, Ragnarok Yuletide, album of Christmas songs covered by metal musicians.
Very nice.
I always say with the chat, I will if I miss anything, I'll be rereading it afterward. I always save the chat after the show and taking your suggestions. So thank you for all of that. Let me get to the topic.
Oh, we don't have the topic yet?
We actually have a topic for tonight. Amy, you weren't kidding when you said, no, we're not going to have a short show. I'm just going to do this really quick. You know, you've always got a take home from 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir. And here we go. Friend of mine, Facebook friend, posted online about, okay, just about everybody I see in the chat I know are objectivists, or at least fans of Ayn Rand.
Yeah.
And this Facebook friend of mine posted an essay that he linked to. And part of the story is about how certain objectivists, proponents of Ayn Rand's philosophy of objectivism, became what some people like to call objectionists.
I know. When I saw that on one of our friends' walls, I'm like, yes, that word has been around for a long time.
Yeah, it's actually a thing. And he went through it. He says, nothing was ever good enough. I could find something irrational or immoral, or at least terribly uninspiring in almost anything.
Yeah.
Now, that might sound extreme, but I've seen people go through, I've seen friends go through
yes.
that. I have seen people, I've known objectivists whose journey took a similar route. Including a few friends who came and went and, for similar reasons.
Yes, let's find the worst in people. That's a great idea.
Well, happily, I have succeeded in maintaining an attitude of gratitude.
Yes.
An appreciation for everything. This magnificent bounty of rich and deep values that surround us in life and in business and in art and in literature and in sports, in just about every domain of life. Objectivism, this may be startling to some of you out there, probably not the people in the chat, you are good people, but objectivism is consistent with gratitude, with taking nothing in reality for granted.
Yes.
And not taking people for granted. Or, in my own words, we are surrounded by miracles, not least of which is ourselves. Great, and here's another surprising but true fact for you. Greatness, in every domain of human action, did exist before 1957.
What?
And here's another jaw dropper for you. Greatness continues to exist and to just flood us, offer us, provide us with inspiration and insights and reason for joy and reason for hope.
Yes.
1957, of course, was the year that Atlas Shrugged was published.
Yes.
And from this essay, well, the person who wrote this paid me a compliment. He said, Robert, I think you're actually more positive than Ayn Rand was. And I had to say, I don't think that Ayn Rand focused on the evils of the world any more than she should have.
Absolutely.
It was part of her purpose and her project to fully understand the ideal and that which contradicts it. But I do know that too many people out there think that they should do the same, despite the fact that it's not their proper purpose and it's not their proper project. So for anybody out there, again, I don't think anybody in the chat, I know you guys are too cool for this, but it's an innocent error that we've all made to some degree.
I'll formulate it this way, and this may need some explanation, but in objectivism, especially when people are not quite privy to Ayn Rand's life, how she came up with these ideas, the fact that she was a real living, breathing woman, she's not some sort of archetype in some sort of abstraction land, But here's the formulation, is that there's a fine line in objectivism between, and between cynicism and altruism. And what I mean by this is, we've talked about altruism. We've talked about, how absolutely dreadful it is and how easily you can get sucked into it, especially in today's culture. But cynicism is a way to become an altruist. We're constantly thinking about other people, their problems, what's wrong with them, telling them off, telling them, what you think is the worst of them, and then finally, of course, just throwing your hands up in the air and becoming, a cynical egoist, I suppose. But yeah, if you're constantly focusing on the foibles and the vices of other people, that's not objectivism. And I think we all know that here. But yeah, it's something that especially young people who are getting into politics and then getting into objectivism through politics make the mistake of. I certainly made that mistake. I certainly did. There was a time when I would actually literally, without breaking a face, actually call people sheeple. So, when I was into Nietzschean existentialism and all of that, it was very malevolent. But yeah, just think of it. That's how I think of it. It's very helpful to me to think of it as cynicism will lead me to forgetting about my own life, my own values, my own priorities, my own goals, what I really want.
Which is
in
what
life
philosophy is for. I've got to say, Sam is in the chat. Sam, you know him as Samo. Yes, the photographer is in the chat.
Yeah.
And says, I've missed this show. We've missed you too.
We missed you too.
And we are glad you are around tonight. Hope you're gearing up for a great Christmas. Let me just offer this advice to any newcomers to philosophy in general, objectivism in particular, or anybody who's not a newcomer but still kind of feels this. There is a lot to philosophy. There's a lot to objectivism. And if you come into it with a very limited idea of what you're looking for, you run the risk of finding exactly what you're looking for and only that. I'm glad somebody mentioned Nielsen's The Point.
Yeah.
Objectivism is full to the top, full to the brim with truths about courage and confidence and benevolence and abundance and kindness and generosity and joy and happiness. There is enough in objectivism to make your spirit, your heart and your mind burst with passion. But if that's not what you want, well, you'll probably see all of that stuff as mere side issues, or you won't see it at all. Philosophy, in general, and objectivism in particular, is a tool, not a weapon, not a shield. Philosophy can serve as a weapon and shield very well, which leads some people to think that that's the purpose of being philosophically armed. Mm-hmm. Weapons and shields, like, whoops. So to quote the Rock Man from Nielsen's The Point, those of you who know the story will know who the Rock Man is, but in a far more objective manner than most folks give him credit for. There ain't nothing pointless about this gig. Thing is, you see what you want to see, and you hear what you want to hear. See, if you want to understand objectivism primarily as a means to understand and fight evil, there's value in that, but that is what you'll see.
Yes.
If you want to understand objectivism as a philosophy for living on Earth, for achieving and celebrating your values, for living your life, regardless of what others are thinking or doing, well, then that's what you'll see.
Yes, the Rock Man. But yes, objectivism is a philosophy for living on Earth, and it's not just about, and living is not equated to just protecting yourself, putting up that shield, or using that club to knock people down. Yeah, and some people don't see Ayn Rand as that.
Yeah, like the original guy who wrote this essay, which you should go out and read. Link will be right on my Facebook wall. In fact, the notes I'm working from, I actually posted online. I just flipped them so you can see them. The guy who said, Robert, I think you're much more positive than Ayn Rand was. I had to reply and say, thanks for the compliment, but no. My impression is that Ayn Rand was an enormously joyful person.
Yes,
read
she
Facets
was.
of Ayn Rand.
Oh,
Listen
my
to
gosh.
Reminiscences and Recollections. Read any of her personal
Read
stuff.
100 Voices.
Read
even.
100 Voices. Ayn Rand did say, Dominique is myself in a bad mood. But my impression is she was a cross between Dominique and Dagny Taggart, and John Galt and Howard Rourke. With a big heaping helping of Jinx Winford thrown in the mix.
Yes.
Some of you who haven't
Jinx
read the early Ayn Rand, you've got to
Winford.
read good copy.
Yeah, read good copy with Jinx.
I-
Yeah,
Yeah.
very sweet.
She was a combination of all of her charming protagonists and somebody else altogether, just her own person. She was the creator of all of that.
And with that, I can't help but give a shout out to Shoshana Milgram,
Oh my gosh.
who is putting together the definitive Ayn Rand biography. I don't know if it's actually out. I don't think it is.
It's not out yet, no.
It's,
No,
well, it's not.
no. It
No.
is still
Publicly, it's. I don't think that the videos or the lectures she did 3 lectures covering some of the
Yeah, some of them are on
biographical
YouTube.
information
Yep.
from Ocon, Miami, I believe.
Yeah, look those up.
Yeah, and
Shoshana Milgram on Ocon Ayn Rand biography. You'll find at least one and I think 2 of the videos.
oh,
now.
really? Oh,
Yeah.
good, because I want to re-listen to those. It's really fascinating what
She's
she did.
exactly the right person to give you not the version that you might get just from reading those essays, but
Yeah.
the real Ayn Rand.
But of course,
good
Facets
stuff.
of Ayn Rand by Marianne and Charles Suarez, and a number of other good resources out there. But no, I mean, Ayn Rand, she was a writer. She was a fiction writer. She lived in Hollywood. She was a real live person, and she made some mistakes in her life, and
Really?
yeah, as a matter of
maybe.
fact, but she learned from them, and that's the best thing you can do, of course. Yeah, I mean, she was just she was a huggable lady. I'll just say that. In my mind, because I never actually met her, but I know she is.
Yeah. Some people have impressions of Ayn Rand that are surprising to me. I just wish I'd had the opportunity to meet her and thank her.
Yeah,
And say, oh my gosh, what you have done, thank you.
very grateful towards you.
That is what I would have said.
Yeah,
I wouldn't have hugged her unless she seemed open to it.
yeah.
Though I wouldn't have been surprised if she was.
I would offer her my pinky.
Yes. Here we go.
It's a Drop Dead Fred reference, okay?
Well, some people are familiar with pinky promises.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, by the way, my hot toddy was very good. It has cloves and cinnamon and honey and bullet bourbon and orange and lemon and the Boohee colonial tea from Oliver Pluff and Company. Anyway, it's
Haley
good.
Marley is in the chat on the Facebook side.
Yeah.
Thank you and Merry Christmas to you too. That's
you.
very sweet. And Jim says, and sums a few of these points up very well, he says, there are people who see nothing positive in Ayn Rand's nonfiction and lectures. They see her as being very negative. What such people fail to understand is that when someone, just scroll there, when someone wants to alert people and the world of impending dangers, they're not engaging in negativity. If they were, they would see such efforts at enlightening people as futile and not worth the effort. Well said, Jim. Very nice. And he says, the reason I began to study Objectivism almost 40 years ago, are you old enough for that? When I was increasingly miserable, quite frankly, was to save my own life.
Yes.
By the way, my serious study, I love this, my serious study began with the Romantic Manifesto.
Yes, I would say that's where I started too in my serious study of her.
One of our favorite Ocons is when they celebrated the Romantic Manifesto.
Yes.
That was so
in
good.
Cleveland. That was the best Ocon.
So good. And let me drive home the point, and then we can wrap up, which we won't do. We'll just look at the chat some more. But let me drive home the point here with the not the closing words, but from the film Chocolat. In that list of 10 movies which you haven't seen yet, then you must see. Père Henri. Now this is the young rector who's taking over the church. The count of the city is trying to get him to become the kind of preacher, the kind of pastor, I don't know what his position is, the kind of church father that he wants him to be. But this guy's young and innocent, and he's having a hard time being pushed hard into being hard. And Père Henri gets up to the pulpit. At the climax of the film, the original words that he was going to use torn up. And the short version is, he says, listen, here's what I think. I think that we can't go around measuring our goodness by what we don't do, by what we deny ourselves, what we resist, and who we exclude. I think we've got to measure goodness by what we embrace, what we create, and who we include. If that sounds a little vague, see the movie. See it in context. It's one of the greatest lines in cinema because it makes a simple, profound point that all too many of us find it all too easy to forget.
Yes. And one thing is, on YouTube, James Valiant. Hey there, James. Merry Christmas. Yes, read Ayn Rand's letters. Just so many resources out there.
Yes.
About how considerate and benevolent and value oriented she was, how she tried to seek out and find the best of other people, and she would talk about it. She would tell you what she loved about you, and I just love that.
Yes.
So
Letters
good.
of Ayn Rand are hard to beat. Speaking of James Valiant, if you haven't read The Passion of Ayn Rand's Critics,
Yeah.
perhaps because you're not that interested in a critical analysis of Ayn Rand with Nathaniel Brandon and Barbara Brandon, the book is worth reading. Of course, it's worth reading for James' insights on the issue, but it's also worth reading because James was given access to Ayn Rand's personal notes, kind of journal notes that weren't included in the book Journals of Ayn Rand. And he includes them in the book. And you can read in Ayn Rand's words, her own thoughts to herself.
Yeah.
If you have any question of, well, what kind of person was there like a real person there, or was it just this person who was saving the world philosophically and writing these great novels?
Right.
So much more to her. So thank you, James, for that.
Yeah, it really is a God, I don't want to say this, but I'm going to.
What are you going to say?
There are these there's so many things on Reddit and Facebook and everything about am I the asshole? People writing in, it's sort of like
it's a thing now. AITA.
And people explaining, I did this and I'm with this and here's the context. Am I the person in the wrong? And I think of the journals that James Valiant was given permission to reprint in his book,
her personal journals.
Yeah, her personal journals in his book.
The Passion of Ayn Rand's Critics.
The Passion of Ayn Rand's Critics.
Yeah.
Thank you. The bourbon is kind of affecting me. But it's sort of like, you read what she's writing in her own personal journals about trying to help somebody who's really, really close to her, who's really close to her philosophy, who has been an advocate of her philosophy for so many years, and then finally, slowly but surely, recognizing the fact that this person is a liar, is a swindler, is not a good person.
It's torturous to go through it, but it's also kind of beautiful to see her mind at work.
It's she's so fair about it.
Yes.
She's so patient with this friend of hers, and she's just she was trying to be as objective about the situation as possible. She's really putting a lot of effort into it. She's known this person for so many years. She doesn't want the friendship to end if she can help it. And it gets to the point where she realizes this person is not going to change. It's not going to change. So, no, Ayn Rand was not the asshole.
Oh, you're putting it in meme terms. Okay.
I'll just say that.
It's quite a read, and it's consistent. People think, well, that's different. No, it's consistent with everything else.
Yeah.
Sam in the chat says, well, someone who met Ayn Rand once shared in Clubhouse. You remember Clubhouse? We used to be able to have conversations. It's still out there, but I looked at it. It doesn't even resemble the old platform. It's kind of useless now. But Sam says, someone who met Ayn Rand once shared in Clubhouse. I forget if it was a man or a woman, but too shy to speak to Ayn Rand. And Rand noticed and said, oh, no need to be shy. And she was very warm and friendly. It makes me think of when Al Ruddy, the producer of The Godfather, he wanted to do Atlas Shrugged. And he met with Ayn Rand, and he was asked, what was she like? And he said, she was a living doll. And it just makes me want that much more to, I wish I had met her in my lifetime. And I would have been a perfect stranger, and I'm sure it would have been, semi-formal and all that, but would have loved that.
Yeah.
Would have loved that. Yes.
Yes.
So, yes, if folks, the world is a mess, and yes, we've got to do things to fight it, and we're all engaged, and whether you're working with the Ayn Rand Center UK or with the Ayn Rand Institute or just on your own doing your own best to fight the craziness that's out there. Yes, I'm not saying, we should all just focus on the good stuff and not worry about what's wrong. But we should focus on the good stuff, and we should not worry about what's wrong. We should fight what's wrong. But we should be living, if anybody should be living a good life on earth, it should be those who've got the owner's manual.
Yes. Those who have the reality-based pro-reason ideas.
And that means that if there is any value to be found, if there is any joy to be found in Christmas music, whether you want to go back to Bach and Mozart, or whether you want to talk about Christmas carols written in the 1800s or in the Jazz Age or in the last 25 years, if anybody should be enjoying Christmas, if there's any actual value there, and there is, and it's endless, it's huge, we should be the ones enjoying. You should be enjoying it. You should get everything you can out of this season, out of this holiday, out of these opportunities. You deserve that, and I want you to be selfish enough to go out and get yourself a big, huge, heaping helping of it throughout the holidays.
Helping.
Grab a heaping helping of our hospitality.
Hankering for a hunk of cheese.
I think we've gotten cheesy enough.
A slice of chunka.
But Stephen is right to observe that this may be the best chat thread so far.
Yes.
And,
thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. Merry Christmas to all of you. Have I missed? There's a lot in the chat I could go with. Jim points out Chocolat is his favorite movie of all time. This is a guy who's got movie favorites going back to the 1920s. If Chocolat is your favorite movie, that is saying something.
Yes.
I don't have one single favorite movie because it changes. Often it's Cyrano de Bergerac, 1950. Anyway, it's a good movie to be your favorite movie.
And James made another great point. In the wake of the sadness of losing her friend, she shortly went out to write the perfectly positive essay, Apollo 11. Yes. And if you want inspiration, read Apollo 11. It's amazing.
Yes.
It's amazing what us human beings can achieve as individuals with reasoning minds.
Yes, and our capacity to enjoy and celebrate that.
Yes.
So get out there, enjoy and celebrate it. What are you doing listening to us? Well, it's a Sunday night. No, you should be at home listening to us. That's exactly what you are doing, exactly what you should be doing, and so are we, folks. Thank you. Dear friends, you really are the best audience in podcasting.
Yes, and Merry Christmas, and Happy Solstice, and
thanks for the Christmas presents. Well, I mean, those of you who are on our Patreon, our patrons on Patreon,
yes.
Thank you. Thank you for supporting us throughout the years, whether you've been on board for a few months or a few years. Some of you go back almost to the beginning. Thank you. It is appreciated. It does feel like a big Christmas present on my computer, under the tree, makes all the difference, keeps us doing what we're doing.
Yes,
If you're not a patron, feel free. Feel free to go to robertnasir.com, scroll to the bottom of the page. You'll see a link to Patreon, monthly contributions. You say, hey, give this guy $2 every month. Or $5, a cup of coffee every month.
Yeah.
Or if you want to make a one-time contribution, use the PayPal link, and you can do the same. It's easy. Piece of cake like that. I mean, it costs money, but it's very easy to do. Thank you. Thank you to those of you who have done that.
And I've got to say, Santa is real. Santa does exist. And Santa is you when you exert that kind of benevolent justice.
Folks, you really are the best. Continue to engage with us. We are on the socials, especially Facebook. You'll see me on X and Threads and Blue Sky and all those other places, but I guess Facebook is really the big one. It's got all the big essays, the big points that are made. So check us out. Help us out. We will see you there. That's it. I'm just going to wrap.
Yo.
Yeah. I'm just going to wish you a Merry Christmas. We're going to wish you every success that you so richly deserve. Metaphorically, under your tree, you should have boxes gift wrapped with bows on top of happiness and joy and things like money and comfort and all of the successes. Everything that you so richly deserve. If you didn't deserve it, you wouldn't stick around this long in a conversation like this. And that is why we wish you, in fact, we give you a heaping helping of love.